Welcome patrons. There has been some setbacks, so it's been way too long since the last Old God video. So let's get back into the swing of things with the Dragon of Chaos, Zazikel. The Old God. Now, I mentioned that Zazikel is the Old God of Chaos, but to Tevinter, this also represented freedom. I want to talk about that a bit because I think it says a lot about how Tevinter views freedom and even slavery. Zazikel is the Old God of Chaos, a word that generally carries a negative connotation. Tevinter also believed he represented freedom. It almost feels like this god was aimed at slaves to help accept their role in the world, similar to Andral, Old God of Slavery. Both old gods have that word reversal in common. Slavery is also unity. Chaos is also freedom. Both seem to be highly based in pro-slavery propaganda. But I'm not sure Zazikel was always the god of chaos. In every mention of him in the series so far, he is connected to chaos, except the world of Thetis. Twice it lists the old god Zazikel as the old god of freedom, but when in Archdemon, chaos. This seems to be the only old god whose realm changed when they were corrupted or over time or who knows what. If we add in the high priest of Zazikel that entered the old city who took the name of the madman of chaos, it could be that the domain wasn't changed when he was corrupted, but much earlier in Tevinter history, perhaps when slavery became popular. Zazikel is also connected to the constellation of Chios, which has a bizarre design of a man with the wing for an arm holding a sword and a tail of some kind. The stars were also known to be bad omens, so there was a movement in the chanter to change the symbol to a dove, which didn't actually work out, and as legend says, the person who created the movement died an untimely death. Now, Zazikel would rise up in 1-5 Divine in the southern mountains of the Anderfels and become the archdemon of the Second Blight. His blight would last 90 years, finally being defeated in 195 Divine in the Battle of Starkhaven by the Grey Warden Corrin. As the story goes for Zazikel's final moments, the Grey Wardens have planned a trap for Zazikel in Starkhaven, but somehow the Archdemon expected it, and Darkspawn poured around Starkhaven. The battle was rough, but Grey Warden Corrin and his mage lover Wardenaria were in the final battle. An emissary shot at Corrin who was getting ready to kill Zazikel, but Neria covered him and took the blow instead. She was killed but allowed Corrin to end the Second Blight. The Second Blight would become a large part in Dalish history, as the refusal of the elves of the Dales to help the humans in Orlais from the Blight would become a large factor in how the Dales would crumble, leading to the creation of the Dalish nomads. It would also become a large part in Ferelden history, as Haftor would be able to unite the Alamari tribes against the Blight to protect their land, a first for the young nation. Something I would also like to point out here is that there are some sources that talk of Zazikel with female pronouns, namely that in the World of Thetis Volume 1, it lists him as the goddess of freedom. But Ben Jelanis would say that it was an unfortunate typo and that Zazikel is male. The theory. As we have been doing, what if the old gods were somehow connected to the elven gods? Who would be connected to who? The hard part with Zazikel is that we don't really have that much on him, other than that he is referred to as a male, connected to both chaos and freedom, and has a constellation that is connected to bad omens. So here is my best guesses for Zazikel. Andruil. Andruil is the goddess of the hunt and does have some connections to sacrifice, but more importantly, there is a story on how she goes crazy, as the fandom believes, due to red lyrium. This is literally the only connection I can put with the two, and is still one of the strongest contenders for the list. Elgernon. While on paper Elgernon is the god of vengeance and fatherhood, the fandom has taken a lot of his stories to mean that he was crazed with power. If we also take solace at his word in that the Evanuris once led a great war, Elgernon could have once been seen as a great leader fighting for freedom as well, but that's all theory at this point. Juné. I feel like I'll end up putting Juné on most of these lists as we know so little on him, so much could work. The guy who's connected to puzzles being a bit chaotic, yeah, I could see that happening. Fen'Harel. I can't just not put this as a contender, even though within every theory that tries to draw parallels between the old gods and the Evanuris, they leave out Mythal and Fen'Harel, because we know that those two are not locked up. But you can't deny how similar the two are. Both were connected to the positive quality of freedom and would later be villainized by a negative quality. In Zazikel's case, chaos, and Fen'Harel's a traitor. And I think there is a solid argument that Fen'Harel caused quite a bit of chaos as well. If anything, I think our dear Solas has the strongest connection to Zazikel. at least as we both know them now, and because of this, it also brings a lot of question about this theory. And that, dear patrons, is all that we know on Zazikel. Do you still have lingering questions? Proof that I'm wrong? Comments about your own fan theory? Feel free to tweet me at @Gildathon on Twitter or send a PM to user Gillanon on Reddit. The rest are all.